not spend 4 semesters being dragged by my edges by my Korean professor to not know the difference between nigga and nigga. Now, I was really going to do this video on like Googling it or cancel culture, and so for anyone who answered, that video will surely be coming out soon. But I was inspired by the lovely voice of Chungha herself. And it is no secret that K-pop artists have been put in the hot seat for appropriation before. And a lot of times we hear things like,
oh my god, like, they're not even, like, it's a different culture, they don't understand, or, oh my god, my little baby would never.
Or all of these things. Or my favorite instance was one time when I was following and looking at a discussion is from a Korean American person who was talking about the issue, especially with Western white fans infantilizing Korean men in K-pop, and like the ways in which there's a fetishization of Korean culture, of East Asian culture, all this other stuff. And then we started talking about, you know, the really weird ways in which like there is this fetishization and then like also this appropriation of Black culture and all these things. And we were vibing, we were having a good conversation. And I was talking about how people will be out here saying the whole N-word with their whole chest, in songs. And this person fixed their fingers to type out.
They're not even saying the N-word, it literally means you in Korean. You think they just sing in Korean and then suddenly say a racial slur in English? English isn't the only language that exists.
They picked the wrong one because I did not spend 4 semesters being dragged by my edges by my Korean professor to not know the difference between nigga and nigga. And I don't like to bring up a lot that I am learning Korean and a lot of these other things, in part because of me wanting to be conscious of the fact that the way in which I engage with media and the language and the culture is not coming from this place of fetishization. A lot of people will find any reason to deflect any type of accountability away from the artists and creators. But I do think the way that identity maps on is different. And I will link to some videos that talk about this because it's not entirely my place to explain all of how identity formation in Korea takes place. But I do know enough about racialization to understand that throughout the world, race maps on differently because the construction of race, it's a particular tool created through white supremacy in order to justify settler colonization. So if we understand that the categorization of race, which does not change its impact, which does not change the self-identity of people, but we have to understand that it is contextualized and people are racialized depending on the location that they are in. And so there are things that do get lost in translation. And we also have to look back at where does this come from? If we are looking to have like increased style and all these other things, where are we first finding instances of Black culture being stripped from its original roots and made a commodity to be consumed globally? That's happening here. So when we talk about appropriation in K-pop, and we will get to talking about where does the accountability lie, we have to also understand that where it is coming from, where that blueprint is coming from, is through the appropriation of Black culture here in the West. That makes it seem like our culture is commodified. It gets disconnected from Black folks here as well. And that's where it gets packaged up and transported globally without its context, without its homage, without all of these different things. That's point number one. Point number two, and this came from a friend of mine who was talking about her experiences as a Black woman in Korea, where she would interact with folks, a lot of folks who might have never seen a Black person, who might have a lot of questions, and it's talked about a lot of the ways in which, yes, it can be tiring, it can be a lot of things, but most people that she interacts with come with a sense of curiosity and a sense of wanting to know more, aside from maybe the one person she met in a club that came up and was like, yo, I know Biggie Smalls, and like wearing chains and everything. That was a lot. That was a lot. That's her story to tell, not mine. But when talking with her, she made a point to say that she feels like there's a difference between the individual people in Korea, like the average everyday person in Korea who may be into certain aspects of street style and genuinely not know, and they're just using it as a form of expression and not having the like cultural context. There's a difference between that and then a very capitalistic oriented company picking strategically signs of culture to then replicate and profit off of at such a large scale. It is no mistake how transparently capitalist the K-pop industry is. And every music industry is that way. The only difference is that they're not hiding it. They're not hiding it at all. So once again, this is not unique to K-pop. This is absolutely not unique to K-pop. This is happening here. My issue is that people seem to think that there is an exemption because it's from a different culture. Now, in these companies, you don't think that they don't have teams and teams of people to research and find out all of these different things, all of the resources. And it's not just Native Korean folks. It's a global phenomenon. Meaning, you finna tell me that YG could find out everything about hip-hop and Black culture and not a single person have a little bit of knowledge about maybe what appropriation is, what is okay, what is not. I don't think it always comes down directly to the idols. They are grown-ass people with a certain level of agency in the matter, and that varies from company to company. But when we look at the whole entire system, we have to think, how does it go through so many people and not one person say anything? And people talk it up to, well, oh, it's culture or whatnot. But if there is this knowledge to seek out what is popular in other places, there is a responsibility that comes with that to seek out the context in which it is happening. Because we would be kidding ourselves if we thought that K-pop industries are not looking to market to people outside of Korea. Do I think that means that K-pop industries should completely cater to the tastes of the West? No, I don't think that's so. And I think that we really, really, really have a problem when it comes to fandom and standing idols and forgetting that, yes, they are people, and that means that they also can be accountable to the things that they do. And not everything boils down to fan hate. One of the things that I experience, and I have such a hard time grappling with being a Black K-pop fan, and I say fan loosely because I really don't keep up with a lot of things, but I got my songs that I listen to on repeat. I got my couple of artists that, I check out every now and then, I peep. But I have such a hard time, and I do try to find spaces if I am going to dip my toe into K-pop standom, because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's really hard to, especially if you enjoy an artist and you enjoy the work that they do and all of this other stuff, there's complicated feelings that will come up when we see our culture and aspects of our culture that we fight really, really hard to claim it within a context that will, in one breath, enjoy our bodies, our joy, our talent, our culture, all of these other things, and in the other breath, dispose of us and ready to kill us at any time, and then to have the world gaslight you and say that that's not happening. And yes, people are starting to hop on the wave of Black Lives Matter and a lot of things. And yes, a K-pop band here or there, BTS, did donate to Black Lives Matter. But like, after how long? After how long of all of this stuff happening? And yes, you see articles of K-pop fans, you know, trolling ICE and doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, the K-pop fandoms do come in clutch at times, and at the same time, I'm thinking about all the times I've had armies call other black folks monkeys and the N-word, like stuff like that, and it's like, it's not the same people doing every single thing, and it is prevalent enough that we need to talk about it. It's prevalent enough that it needs to be addressed. Does me, Party Men ain't reading your comments, bro. Like, they are not. But you are more negatively impacting that black K-pop fan than you are defending a millionaire K-pop idol. And that's the impact that you have on actually making the community unsafe or making the community hostile. Someone bringing a criticism to one of your favorite artists about something that is bigger than them, bigger than your fandom, and before you have that gut reaction, stop and let people express what's going on. We need to be facilitating a space where we talk about this, because it's exhausting being a black person even remotely interested in K-pop. So that's the tea. Bye.
And it goes a little something like
before anyone comes to me, I've been in the game since 2009. I've been in this game since before Park Bom was with 2NE1, back when she was singing Forever With You with GD and Top. Back in my day, all of Shiny had bowl cuts at the same time.